What's going on, good people? As promised, I am here. Couldn't come to you earlier, not by my own services. There's a fire by my home. A black family they live in an apartment building right by a little old, it's like an old town. So the place I live in is all new construction, which means it's, it's internet ready and all these things. They stayed in a much older place than me. What's up, guys? They lived in a much older place than I lived. So that place, I don't know how the fire started, but I'm quite sure they had a lot of technology and put in that place that old building probably wasn't used to. Asked family that they need any help. They could have stayed in my house. They said they're fine. They're out on the streets. Back to what I was saying about the fire. No tragedies or anything like that. They just put the fire out. They also cut the phone lines. So now everybody, so you're screwed. Yeah, my phone. They hit the switch and shut everything down. Everybody in that area don't have any power. See, the town I live in, they're not used to having fires or crime. So when a fire happens, they used to go to work like, okay, I'm at work. Now they got to actually do some work and fight a fire. They just out of panic doing things they don't need to do. They're shutting off streets, and I'm like, you can't shut the street down because the other street is blocked from construction. They forgot about it. Oh yeah, that's right, construction. I'm helping the cops because I'm like, you about to close off the roads completely. You're sending them to a dead end. You're gonna have 50. Okay, let's try to shoot this again, shall we? There we go. Now we should be good for the duration. Now, let's address the movies. Now, I told you before, we'll be exposing a lot of the things that you didn't know behind the scenes. The senior general manager of Sony, the major corporation that is Sony, for the Amazing Spider-Man, you're going to know everything about that before we're finished. As to why you never saw the Amazing Spider-Man Part 3. But let's talk about movies. I told you already about the simple facts of what happened with the movie Kidnapped with Halle Berry. They only put that movie out because of to gravitate more to this feminist movement of the women action star. With Wonder Woman, you've seen it in Cars 3, you're seeing it in every movie now. It's a big women movement. You've seen Girls Night, you've seen Girls Trip, you've seen Bad Moms, you've seen rough night. It has been the surge in the age of woman. And now, yeah, I am woman, hear me roar. You know, it's taken a whole stage of all cinematic movies and everything else in the world right now. Now, following that trend, following that trend, 100%, you have definitely ran into a situation with this Halle Berry, whatever say her name. You run into this trend with this kidnap movie. This movie was done in 2013, scheduled to be released in 2014. Then 2015 came. It's not that good of a movie. You would think this was made by WWE Studios. You see it in the trailer, and it's even worse when you see the action scenes. When you see the editing of this, the sound editing is like a made-for-television show. Like the budget was that bad. The movie to call. The same as The Call. She bygones all rules and goes on pursuit to get her own kid. In real life, this would have never happened. Her kid would have just been gone, and there was nothing she could do about it. Now, with that being said, I wanted to wait till a lot of people came in so we could do the chat live and we could build from there. This company called E1 Entertainment, they're the ones, I guess, who really own the footage and sold it to another company for distribution. I couldn't even tell you. But they got mad at me because they felt like I didn't give the movie a chance. So they dogged it out and sent me this email when I was talking about it. But I'm telling people the truth. The movie is really that bad. It's a date movie. If you really don't care about watching a movie and your girl, she might be all into it because it's girl power. If you're a guy, you know, you're going to be on there with your date, you're going to be just fooling around with her. You ain't going to be paying attention to the movie no way. It's a good movie to take her to see if you don't want to care about nothing on the screen. If you want to be all into your date and not the movie, this is the one for you. Now, moving right along, let's go into secret hidden gems. Hidden gem number 1, The Amazing Spider-Man. Which one you want to hear about first? LeBob Moore, what's up, Buffalo, New York? Neil Turner. Now, let's talk The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Cameo, I want to say Michael Amano, Makio, the Japanese general manager of Sony Pictures, was getting ready to make a big announcement. They were in Japan getting ready to announce something very large, some new technology, whatever, and they were going to introduce to the world Andrew Garfield. And when they brought Andrew Garfield out as their special guest for this podium presentation, they were going to announce they had the entire Sinister Six coming into this film. The budget of the film was going to be $240 million. The script was already written, and they were going to have Dennis Leary back in Amazing Spider-Man 3, and they were going to try to bring in Gwen Stacy again. So I'm like, well, how are they going to do that? They're dead. Are they going to have these spirit things where he keeps seeing their face and all this stuff? Now, Andrew Garfield is dating Emma Stone in real life. So while they were dating and all of these things are going on, she has other projects. He really did not. So Spider-Man was like his big money maker. And when they brought her in to play Gwen Stacy, it worked out because the both of them could spend time together while they were making the film. Now what y'all say? Okay, people are just talking, y'all way. Yes, that, I don't know what it is. I guess it's this Friday traffic that got the service all crazy. But anyway, so in part 2, a lot of people were not excited about what the numbers were. Spider-Man did $700-something million. It cost $250 to make. Oh, it was really a lot of money to make that Spider-Man. They did that Spider-Man. It cost like $200-something million, way over the budget they expected to spend. And then after that, the fact is they didn't crack the billion mark. They thought that was the one that was going to crack the billion. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was going to crack the $1 billion mark. So they felt they were $300 million off of their goals. See, the way the public thinks and how we all think is very different from how corporate billion-dollar companies, when they have expectations, is either, that's how it works. There is no, but we made, they don't look at it that way. They don't care if they made 300, 400 million more. If they spent $240 million to make the film, they expect to make $1 billion. That's just their mentality of thinking. They feel like if they put that in, Avengers put in that kind of money, less than that, or around that, did over $1 billion, we supposed to do $1 billion. So they weren't excited about the actual numbers, but they felt like, okay, the next one. So, uh-oh. Next thing you know, there's a scenario in which I might gotta get off. There was a scenario where part 3 was talked about not happening. They approved the script. The script is even more weirder than the world had ever seen. Now, the proposed script had Spider-Man and how he's trying to make a career, but on his spare time, he's actually coming up with formulas to try to resurrect Gwen Stacy. Yeah, tell me about it. That's where Spider-Man is. He's supposed to be this scientist, but because of his grief for Gwen, he's trying to find a way, if there's some way he can come up with a formula to resurrect Gwen Stacy. Shailene Woodley, who y'all know from the series Divergent, she was going to play Mary Jane. Mary Jane was going to be in there trying to talk to Peter about not doing this, not doing that. You can't bring people back, and I'm sorry about your loss. And they started to bond till he tried. It's also very useful for the Goblin. And this formula can do different things, and he thinks that this formula could be modified, and he wants to get his hands on Peter's formula. But they're gonna start all this chaos in the city when 6 finds out what he has. So why they start all 6 guys are doing crime in the city is gonna keep Spider-Man preoccupied, where he's not gonna be able to fight all 6 people at one time, because they was all totally for them to steal the formula that he's been working on that's gonna resurrect people from the dead. I know, right? You know what was gonna preview in that show or in that movie? But I guarantee you one thing, it was not going to be pretty. I would like to see that, but yeah, I would love to see a Black Cat movie. If we could get it. That would actually make a lot of sense. But you gotta develop that character and set it up the right kind of way. If you don't set it up the right kind of way, it's not me. It's actually YouTube this time. I'm for service on the E-way. It's not you. But anyway, back to the script of Spider-Man 3. In this script, they had it where Aunt May was gonna pretty much figure out he was Peter Parker. I mean, he was Spider-Man. The Goblin was going to die in this film after, once again, injecting himself with the formula of Peter's. which he thinks can give him immortality. So once again, he's gonna, without testing anything, inject something into himself. He's tested nothing out, but yet again, he wants to go ahead and inject himself with another formula. Script didn't sound that amazing. Sound pretty crazy that Spider-Man is gonna try to resurrect Gwen Stacy. Yes, I am back. Now, after this script was not approved, oh, there we go. I caught you. After this script was not approved, it immediately got greenlit. Once Sony said it's passable, all this stuff in it, they were gonna fund the entire project, and it was gone. So they flew Andrew Garfield to Japan for this big unveiling of this announcement of some blah 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 thing that they were doing, tech Sony. So Kamiko, what's his name, Makio, no car wash today. Thank you. Now anyway, Makio, they invited him to come out there and you know, and do his thing and go through his spiel. So in the process of him doing all this, they go to get Andrew Garfield because it's a couple of hours, you know, before it's time for the unveiling, where they're going to announce Spider-Man 3 is going to be made to the crowd. So everybody's anticipating that because Andrew Garfield was the special guest. They go to go get him from the hotel. He made the flight out there. He's in the hotel room. He's got a full beard, scruffy beard. He's in his pajamas. And he's like, well, I don't want to do this. Tell them I'm not feeling well. I'm sick. I can't make it. And they were like, you can't make it? This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. What do you mean you're the special guest? I know, but I'm not feeling well. I can't do it. You can't do it? Yeah. Oh, my God. So they told him, and man, that guy is the senior general management, whatever, in Sony. What he says goes. He knows all about cameras. He's very powerful man in Sony. Immediately after this, Andrew Garfield was ordered to leave Japan immediately. The very next day. The next day, he got up, he left. There was a note. His team was informed he was fired. They fired Andrew Garfield from Spider-Man. They destroyed the entire film. Everything was done. They were like, script, throw that down. They were ready to start filming The Amazing Spider-Man. They were looking at locations. Everything was scrapped. It was totally destroyed. There will be no Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's done. Sony was pissed. And because of that, reason alone, Spider-Man 3, you would never see. Andrew Garfield will probably never appear in another Sony movie ever again. Now, he just played in a great movie, that Hacksaw Ridge. But as far as him, personally, there is no way in heck he would probably ever appear in another Sony movie. His Sony reign is over. I'm very sad I didn't get to see that film made. Because, oh my God, Andrea has a poster board. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. A friend of mine got a poster board up here. Isn't that crazy? That's wild. She done made it. She done came up. She done got the right divorce. She's a divorce attorney. Now, I wish they would have made that Spider-Man 3 movie just to see them try to put that plot out. Because I can't imagine Spider-Man trying to resurrect Gwen Stacy from the dead out of grief. Coming up with a crazy formula. That just, I just can't see that as being passable. It didn't get approved at first, and then it got approved. And it was going to cost more money than part 2. And they were hoping to do $1 billion off that one. So Sony got out of the Spider-Man business. They said, look, we're not going to put up all this money for that. We're firing Andrew Garfield. This guy's an arrogant prick, and we don't like him. So they fired Andrew Garfield, especially after he flew all the way to Japan, claimed he was sick and didn't want to go on stage hours before the event with the wrong human being. You canceled on the wrong human being and let him go out there with egg on his face? That is not the way you do things. No, he wasn't fired over no emails. He was fired over an email that's saying he was sick and he couldn't do it. He didn't show up to the, he was in Japan to go to an event where they were going to announce the Amazing Spider-Man 3. And he didn't go. He was there, he said he was sick, and he, whatever, he didn't feel like doing it. And they were already ticked off with him because he was bashing the movie before it even, while it was out, they were doing the promo for part 2, and he was bashing it. Because he didn't like the way they kept adding things, like adding another villain. Well, wherever. If it wasn't Japan, it was somewhere else. But it was somewhere out of the country. I don't care if it was Korea or wherever. Yeah, Rhino was coming back for the next one. They was going to do the Sinister Six, cause the havoc in the city, spread Spider-Man out, and he has to realize he can't fight the battles by himself because it's too many. They got all 6 villains going at one time, causing havoc in the city. And he was like, okay, now Spider-Man, who do you save? What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna fight? For some reason, the Goblin takes the formula, supposedly making him invincible. Once again, injecting himself, like the second one, with a formula without even testing it or knowing what it's going to do. You might have seen Miles Morales show up. We don't know. Oh, what's up? So that's what happened with The Amazing Spider-Man Part 3. Now, we continue on with secret hidden gems. In 2007, the Justice League movie from DC was approved. Armie Hammer was Batman. They had some other guy I'd never seen before as Superman. Some chick as Wonder Woman. And Common was going to be the Green Lantern. Now this one's all, everybody knows about that one. And the guy who made the Road Warrior, and you know how his movies is. Once you saw Fury Road, you understand his passion and how he makes films. DC brought him in because they said this guy can make a great film and he can do it for cheap. Now, when you go ahead and get him, you got to understand that this man is going to push the limits. And the script that they came up with is already on the internet. His Justice League movie was incredible. The villains he had for the movie were great. I would advise you go online and look up the Justice League 2007 movie script. I think it's called, the name of it was Justice League Mortals. Well, what happened was this. They set the film to go with Mortals. And in the film, it basically started off with the Justice League being tricked by Talia Ghul setting up Batman, and went inside and hacked into his utility belt and got all the information on how to beat all the Justice League members. Because Batman had this as a contingency plan in case any of these guys went rogue. If any of these guys went rogue, Batman could just, you know, he had all the secrets of how to beat everybody. So the villains knew how to beat all the superheroes and defeated them. And they were like, how did they find out? When they track Batman, you know, they end up finding out how it happened. You know, these guys end up getting mad. They're all fighting each other. And Bruce is like, hey, I needed this at the time. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are hitting it off. You know, they end up screwing around in the movie. But not everybody's like all friendly anymore, because Batman had this information. They were pretty ticked off that he had this stored away and was able to be deceived by Talia Ghul. Now you're looking at another situation where Yeah, see, that's what I like. Lex Luthor wasn't even in this movie. They had another villain from the comic books who's another billionaire who also knew how to manipulate people and get them to work for him. I can't remember the name right now. I think his name is Max something. But he was like one of the main villains in the film. But in the end, the Flash ended up getting, becoming one with the Speed Force and having to sacrifice his own life to take out the other villain. And they merged into the Speed Force together. Visually, if they would have pulled this off, it was amazing. They had built set pieces for this. They wanted the film moved to Australia, where they could start production. Now the Dark Knight is being made at the same time. The Dark Knight is coming out. The Dark Knight Rises, one of them is being made. Then they start having, Warner Brothers is fighting with DC Comics. They're scared that it's gonna hurt their big major film that they got coming out, because the audience is gonna be distracted by their two different Batmans. The Batman for this Justice League is a different guy from the Batman in the movie. And that's going to take away from the character. But the way George Miller was doing it, the characters you were going to see, Armie Hammer, you were going to hardly ever see him as Bruce Wayne. Maybe a scene or two where he did not have the mask on. For the duration of the movie, he was going to be basically Batman. He was going to be in mask. Wasn't going to be a lot of Bruce Wayne scenes. That was one of the things that was agreed upon. Oh yeah, when he said that line, everybody in the theater did get super silent. As soon as he dropped that line, look at me! Well, see, that was the thing. They wanted to make sure that they put in the right amount of dialogue, the right amount of everything. The guy who was also in there was the guy, what's his name? Brujnell, whatever. He's mostly known for that movie with Nicolas Cage when he was the sorcerer's apprentice. He plays the same role in every movie he's ever been in his life. And he's actually that person in real life. Jay Brujnell, she's out of my league. Yeah, I gotta speed it up. These people over here, man, I swear, they act like they don't know where they're going. So I'm like, I'm gonna leave y'all to that. And I'm gonna do what I do. Now that should be it. Yes, Wally West appeared in that movie. He took over the mantle as the new Flash in the Justice League movie once the Flash died. because the opening scene opened up with the Flash. They opened up with a funeral for a superhero, but you didn't know who it was. And then at the end of the movie, you realized they were at the Flash funeral. And that's weird because the Flash TV show ends with him going into the Speed Force and Wally West becoming the Flash. And in that Justice League movie, Wally West ended up taking the role of the new Flash. Yeah, Detroit, what did I tell you? If you saw the movie Detroit, boy, you're going to be ready to... You got to be in the right mind state. You can't be around no white folks. You're going to be ready to punch some people. Chronicle was good. It had its flaws, but it was good. Oh no, if this was Power or something, then yeah, you wouldn't see Barry to mid-season. Barry would be back in like episode 2. You can't have the show without Barry. See, The Flash is more of a drama. Dealt with emotions and everything, and that's why they got the right guy to play the Flash. Grant Gustin, the played. The Flash, out of all the superheroes, was more of the emotional wreck. Of course it is. Baby Driver is great because of what? Music. You put music in a movie, it'll take off. All you need is the right songs and put it in and blend it in with the film. And what this is a modern day Reservoir Dogs. Oh yeah, all the character, the style, the music, everything was perfect. That movie was flawless, and it's entertainable. That's the best movie of the whole summer so far. Yep, and why was it a masterpiece? Everything went together at the same time. You had all these different elements going in there working for you. You had the music when it first comes on with Reservoir Dogs, that soundtrack that went along with the scenes. You had the stories that's in your head that you got to put together. You never saw what happened in the bank, but yet you knew what happened in the bank by them talking about it. Then they came out with the video game, and then you was able to see what actually happened with the story behind everything that went down. But it was a great piece of writing, character writing. That's why Quentin Tarantino is one of the best. Because each character he's able to write for, you can identify each one differently. Each one was unique. Mr. Pink was entirely different from Mr. White. Mr. White was entirely different from Mr. Blonde. The dialogue is different. The talk is different. They're idealists and all of that. Mr. Brown and all of those guys, they were all different. And out of all of them, which character did you identify with the most? Who was most like you? I knew out of all the characters, I was Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink for me. 4 Rooms is good. That's a great comedy. It's a British comedy, which means it's real quick. Very well written. A lot of people don't get British comedy because it's so quick. Some of the, the jokes are not explained. You gotta, either you pick it up or you don't. The Thundercats movie was supposed to be made right along with the Voltron movie, and they keep getting pushed to the, side. So that's all it is. Oh, Benny Hill, yeah, but we grew up off Benny Hill. The Benny Hill Show. Benny Hill used to look like my cousin Johnny, and was about just as silly as Johnny. I could see Johnny doing everything that Benny Hill was doing. No. Now let's talk about movie trailers. They made a remake for the movie Death Wish. I don't know if you've seen this trailer or not. Bruce Willis is back on his diehardness, cleaning up the streets of Chicago in a trailer called Death Wish, where he's taking out the gangs and everything else. His wife gets killed, his daughter's in the hospital, and somebody broke in the house, and now he's out cleaning up the streets of Chicago with all the crime in Chicago. Bruce Willis is gonna come out and just start shooting people with a hoodie on. So, man, I know they better not film Death Wish 2 in Chicago, because they're going to blow Bruce Willis' butt across the street. That's all we need in the city of Chicago, is to let one white guy with a hoodie run around and start shooting up the brothers. That's going to stop the violence. Boy, boy, boy. They won't do nothing to help stop the violence, but they gonna make money off of it. So Bruce Willis is gonna clean up Chicago. Well, he would have been used very much about 2 hours ago on 61st and Stony Island. They needed Bruce Willis with the hoodie on over there. They'll blow his butt across the street. Well, John Carpenter's good because he's good with music. The Prince of Darkness isn't a good movie, but it has very creepy scenes. And John Carpenter, the creepiness is it with him is the suspenseful music. He was very good with putting in sounds in the film to creep you out, to add that extra suspense. But people in the Hollywood circles told me John Carpenter was a bit of a racist. And, you know, I didn't want to believe it, but that's just talking, you know, around small sections of Hollywood. But I'm like, I can only judge him off his films. I don't know what he's done in real life, like outside of that. And the man ain't here no more. So you know, I don't know what he done to any black actors. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I don't know. No, it had jumped the shark. Whenever you make something, it probably don't need to be made again. Like, you could never remake Nightmare on Elm Street. They tried. And Robert Englund brought up the fact of why it failed. The remake. And it wasn't that the script was bad. Robert Englund himself broke down what had happened. During that time, when they were releasing the movie, you had just put out a DVD set at that time that had all the movies together. Now, the studio just released that box set. So people who never really knew Freddy Krueger was too small now are being caught up watching this Freddy Krueger for the first time on this box set. They got to watch all of Robert Englund playing Freddy. Now you're trying to reintroduce somebody else playing Freddy Krueger. Lady, don't you see my fucking signal? They about to make me lose my cool. It's crazy out here, Max. You're gonna make me lose my cool. Hey, every one PG movie gets to use one of them. You get one every PG-13. I just use mine up. But no, you tried to reintroduce Freddy Krueger while people was just being familiarized with Freddy Krueger, for those who didn't really see him. When then y'all released a new box set. But they thought it was building up momentum for the new movie. It's like, no, that was stupid. Freddy vs. Jason actually was good. It actually bankrolled a couple of other movies to come out, because you would have never saw The Bride of Chucky or any of that stuff if it wasn't for that. Because of The Bride, that's how you were able to get those movies. They said, all right, as bad as they were, we got those movies because of Freddy vs. Jason. They came out and made all that money, and that just did it. I'm better off going local than staying in the express lane. The express lane don't like it's moving. Yeah, let me get off this. Well, happy birthday. Or belated, because I don't even know which day it is. So we've covered a lot today, fellas. We covered the reason why Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 wasn't made, and that they ended up having to sell portions of Spider-Man over to Marvel so they can work together on making a Spider-Man film. And I don't think this Spider-Man is going to reach expectations, but at least it won't be all Sony's fault. And you know, Kristen Dunst, she came out and blasted the new Spider-Man and this new Spider-Man Homecoming. She said, well, it's obvious to see we made the best Spider-Mans. And now they're making it, the reason why they're failing is because they're only making it to make money. They're not thinking about the picture. So Tom Holland had to come back and defend his decision and defend the movie. And he said, look, I can't change her opinion on the film. You know, I had fun making it. I loved it. Who wouldn't want the opportunity to play Spider-Man? You know, that's her opinion if she didn't like the movie, and that's that. But it is what it is. You know, he's having a great time. It's the most fun he ever had on a set. Well, as I predicted, somebody just told me about Usher. Like 2 other women and a man saying that he gave him herpes. And this woman's gonna represent all of them. I told him, I was like, man, these lawsuits finna start flying out of nowhere now. Once they see one person can get money for that, oh, everybody finna be suing. I'm like, you know how many of these women ain't got burnt up out here? And Your Honor, I want $500. But he's like, he got no job. He ain't got nothing. People gonna be really suing now. Come on, people. It is not that hard. You press the gas and the car moves. It's very simple. It's very simple. Right. If somebody signal you stop, then you take the test. Stupid. Oh no, tonight is gonna be crazy tonight. It's frat party night. All my frat buddies, they got parties. And normally when there's parties, there's a lot of things going on at a frat party. Woo! Some of the baddest chicks in the world, buddy. I won't be online. I will not be online for that, brother. I heard it's going to be a period piece. I saw the makings of it, but it's not really going to tell exactly about him. I heard it was going to be an origin piece, but it's going to tell us a little bit more in detail about the Creeper. Part 2 was disappointing because they squandered what could have really been a good movie had they had a better budget and a better script. Jeepers Creepers is one of those movies where I thought they were going to tie that into The Creature from the Black Lagoon. That film has been on the chopping block since 1997. So I thought Jeepers Creepers was going to end up being the Creature from the Black Lagoon. And they were just going to tie that into the story, which they still might. That's the way it was set up. But we'll see. Can't trust anything nowadays. I could barely see y'all right now. I don't know what's going on. Toxic Avenger is one of those movies that don't need to be remade. It was just, the way they made it the first time is the way it should be. Leave it at that. Let me get off this E-way. Swamp Thing and Toxic Avenger movies, everybody get mixed up. Swamp Thing was good. It feels like a movie that can only happen in Louisiana. Oh, Annabelle? No, the thing with Annabelle is I turned down that one. The one that they had one viewing. It was way out. I didn't even want to go make that run. So that wasn't finna happen for that. Plus, if I get that scared, I want to be close to my house. But I did see The Dark Tower. And the Dark Tower series is a lot different than the actual Dark Tower series that you've seen from the books. They condense everything into one movie. So let me prepare you right away. They condense everything into one film. The scariest movie all time to me is The Exorcist. Period. Then that movie with that outbreak monkey. That still terrifies me to this day. Just from the disease that thing was able to cause. The whole outbreak. I'm like, man, outbreak. Scared the life out of me. Needful things. Needful things. How could that scare you? That didn't scare nobody. Was that supposed to be scary? Leland Vaughn. What is your needful thing? Insidious was one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen something that scary with the first Insidious. Well, they didn't know how they were going to deal with that Exorcist movie. So they ended up continuing the story into part 3, where they brought back the priest. He's still locked up with the spirit inside of him. Part 3 kind of made up for the ridiculous part 2. But still, that saga shouldn't have dragged on that long. The best buddy cop movie is 48 Hours. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Lethal Weapon was not. Even though that's like my buddy's favorite movie. The first Lethal Weapon, yes. The second one and the third one and fourth one, I don't really know. I would say the first two were okay. But 3 and 4, by far, were some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. They just took Danny Glover character and made him just a house Negro. Riggs. Watch Lethal Weapon 3 and watch how many times the man says Riggs. Watch episode 4 and watch how much the man called Riggs. The man is a declarated officer. He's got more stripes than Riggs. Riggs was almost off the force for being wild and reckless. But yet, they turned him into a bumbling idiot who can't do nothing without Riggs. Riggs! Like he had lost a puppy. Where you at, Riggs? And then part 4, when the Jet Li situation. Riggs, he down in the water drowning. And here he is. Where you at, Riggs? Will me, Riggs! Will me! Where you at, Riggs? Will me! Will me! Oh my God! I was ready to just throw something at the movie screen. I'm coming, Riggs! I'm getting too old for this. Every movie he's retiring. He been retiring since episode 2. Now, here's another known fact for Lethal Weapon. Riggs was supposed to die at the end of part 2. They changed the script at the end, but Riggs was supposed to die at the end. When he got shot up and Murtaugh saved him, Riggs was supposed to die. Because that was the guy, he got the guy and the people that ended up killing his wife. He was complete. But they made a change due to the popularity of Lethal Weapon, and they continued it and let Riggs live, and all of a sudden now you got to continue the movie on. Yeah, that's the Richard Donner success train. Now, Goonies. Goonies. Goonies are good, good enough. Good enough for me. Yeah. So the Goonies. Now, when the Goonies came out, they all got together. The whole cast of Goonies got there when talked about the movie, because they were coming out with a sequel for Goonies. Josh Brolin is still going to replay the role as Bran, and now their children are going to have their own missions in the Goonie world. All their kids are back in the old town, and they all was going to be there. All the characters, you're going to see how they've all grown up, the whole nine. And looking back on themselves as kids and watching the film, it was great. So the project was gonna work. Certain people don't like certain people on the show. Sean Astin, for some reason, has a problem with somebody on the set. I don't know which one of the actors. Maybe Corey Feldman. But Sean Astin was the star of the movie. So for him not to be in the film anymore would be a big blow. Now, one of the guys, the actor that plays Chunk, he's actually not chunky anymore. He's actually fit and shape. He's a Hollywood lawyer. Like an agent. So all their kids hearing about the stories about how they all went on this mission, found this pirate ship. All of the kids decided they needed to go on a mission. So it's more modernized with all this technology they got now, and they're gonna go on a Goonies mission to go find this old missing thing that they found on a map. They're like, this could be our mission, this could be us, we're the last Goonie kids. So that's how that's gonna start. Well, the script was for it to start, but they never could get around to getting everybody to agree to do this. And I'm like, Richard Donner's gonna be dead. Y'all are not gonna be able to, somebody's gonna die, unfortunately. And then next thing you know, the movie's gonna not be able to happen. Like Ghostbusters 3. They waited so long to do it, and then the person that's holding the most guilt is Bill Murray. Because Bill Murray don't like sequels. And he was like, see, look how they hated on the sequel of Ghostbusters. And that's why he said, I don't like making sequels. And the Ghostbuster 3 script was made out to be just like the Goonies script. The kids of the Ghostbusters are now wanting to go bust ghosts because these guys are too old to do it. So they're actually going to be ghost busting with their children. Because the dads are going to have to show them what to do once what's-her-name comes back. She actually, the ghost from the first one actually returns. I am gold. And she came back to destroy and get rid of the Ghostbusters. So they needed to recruit more help. And that's when the sons came in. Yep, rest in peace, Harold Ramis. Now, he passed away and they couldn't film the movie. And that dream died right along with him. Harold Ramis was good at making his own films. Oh man, he done fell off completely. Jesus Christ. All right, well, I'm at arrived destination. We'll continue this another day. It's your boy Karceno. I'm out.